Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Big DK Energy Podcast. My name is Danny K, or the DK in the Big DK Energy, and things are wrapping up here. It's at least December in 2021, so I don't know when this episode will actually be premiered, but we just want to end off strong, especially since we started later this year. But I know that today's episode will be a great way to end the year because we have an amazing guest. So sitting across from me today she's kind of like a Tony Stark of some sorts because I'm about to list off a whole accolade of stuff. She is a model. She is a learning disability advocate. She is a podcaster herself. You're going to love her as much as I do by the end of the episode. So with that being said, please give a round of applause or, from where you are for today's guest, Miss Charlotte Trattner.
Thank you. I really don't know Marvel all that well, but I do know Tony Stark is like a good guy. So thank you for the comparison. I'll take it.
You should definitely look into the scene where he's explaining to Captain America that he's like a million different things.
Okay. I'm going to have to look into that later today.
Yeah, so that's kind of like you.
Oh, thank you. I'll take it.
And I just listed so much. It's like, where do we even begin to start?
I don't know, but like Danny, everything that you said, I kind of feel the same way about you. You're just so multifaceted. You're so talented. I've told you before off the record, and I can definitely feel comfortable telling you on the record, I think that you were made for this. I love listening to your podcast, so I'm so excited to finally be on after, this is the fourth time that we try to do this. So we finally succeeded.
Correct. And like we said, fourth time is the charm.
Exactly.
So, I guess to start off is the fact that we're on a podcast, which Charlotte is really well versed in because she has a podcast herself. And can you give us a little details about that or a few details about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very envious of this setup. First of all, I feel like I need to start with that. I had the wise idea to create a podcast during the pandemic because I was really tired of just sitting on my ass and I needed to do something. There's a whole story, so I'll go into that. But I was like, we can do it. Everyone's virtual. So it's through Zoom. To be doing a podcast with you in person is so exciting because it creates a different dynamic. I can feel the energy in the room, so that's super exciting.
You can read off of me to see what direction this could go.
Oh, exactly, and there's no lags because we're in person and we're not dependent on the internet.
Sure, I'm just kidding.
You're so funny. But yeah, I have a podcast and it's called 20 and Trying, and it's all about life in your 20s and trying to make the most of it.
This podcast is so good. Actually, my Spotify and Wrapped said that 20 and Trying was my #1 podcast for the year.
Well, thank you so much, Peyton. My co-host and I were really excited to see that. I think we've you've been picking up steam. Peyton and I have kind of been lagging off. So we both need to get back on it. And I think that this is the perfect thing to really give me that extra kick in the ass.
A good catalyst.
Yeah.
If you will. Tell me, I know I've seen the show, but to those who haven't seen your show, give us a little rundown about exactly what 20 and Trying is about.
Sure. So I mentioned I started it during the pandemic, and I read The Defining Decade by Dr. Meg Jay, and essentially it's how do you make your 20s matter, because this concept of life begins in your 30s is actually a myth. So I read this during the pandemic and I was like, holy crap, we're in lockdown. I can't put any of these things into practice. And that was really nerve-wracking for me. But I was like, you know what? There are people who are in their 20s. They're figuring out how to make a difference, how to thrive, and they're achieving something. And I brought on guests. And the more that we had, I realized no one has it figured out. Social media has created such this weird veil when it comes to perfection because it doesn't exist. We only post the highlights, and I just think that's complete bullshit. So it's about celebrating the successes and struggles associated with being in your 20s, because this adulting thing, it's just such a myth. It doesn't exist. Everyone is trying to do their best, and I just thought, I'm a big fan of an alliteration moment, so 20 and Trying, I liked it.
It rolls off the tongue.
Right?
I really love that because as Spotify demonstrated, I was definitely in some kind of a rut that I'm in my 20-something and I don't feel like my life is going right. And so, for example, Alyssa
Hickey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to her episode actually right after we spoke, and she's a psychologist, and so asking her what a psychologist going through during a pandemic, I was thinking, oh boy, she must be going through twice or triple the workload.
Yeah, Alyssa is she's a clinical social worker, and that was part of our May Mental Health Month, which was probably one of the most exciting months, to be completely honest, just because we know for a fact that people's mental health started going down during the pandemic. But
that's an understatement.
Oh my gosh. And you and I have had a lot of conversations about this even offline, because like today, I mean, we're recording this and we're recording it on like my 24th birthday. So really, this is a conclusion I've come to in the recent really few weeks, that I am actually really okay with where I am. Like, yeah, I'm living at home, but also if you look at any other country, living at home after college is so normal. And I think we do need to normalize that in the United States, because there's this weird perception that like, oh, if you live at home, you are failing. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, I am saving so much money. I was working 4 part-time jobs, so I didn't have to worry about like having food on the table or going grocery shopping. Like, yeah, I had to be an active contributor to the household, but like that's just part of like being a person. So I just think that we need to like destigmatize a lot of what adulting is, because you're not supposed to have it all figured out. And something Alyssa mentions in that episode, which really rang true, was like her dad having to borrow money from her grandmother like when he was older in life. And that's normal, and that's what your parents are for. They're supposed to like catch you when you fall, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or even like your 60s.
100%. Actually, a funny story that my dad always tells about a situation like that is when my dad was in the Army and when I was just born, we didn't have an air conditioner unit in our apartment. Remember, this is the early 90s. And we were in Korea. I don't know if it was through a heat wave, but it was pretty hot. And so I was taking a nap, probably was to stave off the heat. And my mom apparently was in a tub, almost naked, just pouring water on herself, being like, oh my God, it's so hot. So then my dad asked my grandparents, it's like, hey, we need money for a new AC. And then they said, we want to protect our future grandson. Absolutely.
And your dad was in the military. So when you think about people in the military, you like expect them to have, you know, their shit together, for lack of a better word. But that is just something.
Like in what way?
When you're in the military, you are protecting, you're serving the country. So like obviously you are willing to take risks, like you are putting yourself on the line. But even in that case, life happens, whether it's like not having an AC, or I know that there's someone who was in my sorority, like I believe her now husband is in the military, like she has 2 little kids, and I know that they went through something. Like, life happens and no one prepares you for everything that is going to come your way. You kind of just have to roll with the punches, and that's why you have family, that's why you have friends, and that's just how you learn. Like, you go through life that way. So we're all kind of 20 and trying to figure it out.
It's funny because sometimes I ask my dad and I'm just like, hey Dad, when do you think you'll stop making mistakes? And he goes, when I die.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, that's dark, but it's true.
I mean, that's also how I feel about world peace, but still.
That's a whole other conversation. Like, let's not get on the topic of world peace and politics, because, oh my God, just like...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm just a dark person in some places.
You know what? Sometimes I am too, especially when like I go on a date and like the guy is like really dark. I'm like, I will match your energy, but I'm never seeing you again.
Fair enough. That is a fair enough statement. I like that. So, we were talking about podcasting. That's right. What were some of your more impactful guests that were on the show, would you say?
Obviously, the one with Alyssa is not only is she one of my favorite people ever, but I just think that she has such an important role, and she's always like there for me when I need to kind of like vent or get something off my chest. Granted, she's certified to do that, but I really thought that what she had to offer kind of carried another weight. Another one which was awesome is Allie Kriegsman, and she somehow, I have no idea how like I pulled this off, but she was on Forbes 30 Under 30, and she's the creator of Bulletin. It is such an interesting, like fascinating company, and the amount of pivots that she's had to do with the company is really inspiring. Tony Breidinger, who was the first female Arab American woman to race at the Daytona International Speedway. She's 21 years old. So I don't know whether that was impactful, but it's really inspiring. And we always ask this question at the end, what is advice that you would give other 20-somethings during this decade who are trying to make the most of it? And it's always interesting to hear like people's advice. And I remember Tony, she was like, well, I'm still in the beginning, so like drink water, call your mom, and pay your bills on time. And I'm like, you know what? Very basic advice, but very important. And it's just really interesting to hear like people's perception of that question. But there's just been so many wonderful guests. I'm sure you love just being able to like shoot the shit with people and talk about things that people are fascinated in and interested in. So that's what I love doing. And it's also kind of like no one has their life figured out. Like even someone who's on Forbes 30 Under 30, they make mistakes, they don't have everything. It's like, I think as like a society, and granted like I'm a woman, so maybe I come from like a different perspective, but we are ingrained as a society to kind of stop at the happily ever after. And yeah, we probably have to like blame Disney and all of like these rom-coms that don't actually go into the shit. When you look at life, the Disney and the rom-coms only go up, 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 and then they stop. And life isn't just like one steep line. It's like you have downs and you have ups and you have just like some horizontal, like plane elements. And I think we've just gotten so used to not thinking like, oh, things are bad. Like everyone has it figured out and we don't. So I don't know. I can't like say that enough. Like no one is perfect. No one has their life figured out.
For real. Like one thing that Disney made me think was high school was going to be fun. Total lie.
I mean, I will gladly redo high school over middle school any day, though. Any day. Like, give me an art school, put me back. I was thriving.
Fair enough. I did go to a public school, so maybe that's why we have different perceptions about that.
Danny, you should have been in an art school. It's a whole other experience.
It's totally fine. Why? Because I got to experience what the majority go through, and it kind of adds to when I attempted stand-up. That was a long time ago.
I think you are still born to be a performer. So whether it's podcasting or stand-up, I believe in you.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And speaking of being on stage with a lot of cameras flashing, you're also a model.
Yeah, I am.
Like that segue?
I do. Very clever. Very good.
So, how did you get into that?
My mom was a much bigger model than I'll ever be. She was signed with Ford, which, I mean, doesn't exist now. Crazy
I was about to say the car company?
No, it was a really big agency in like New York and Miami and I think LA. It doesn't exist anymore, which is really depressing. It's just like there's been such a shift in the model world, and even more so than like I didn't even realize. But I would look at her book and I would always be like, oh my God, I want to model. And my mom was like, okay, I'll make you a deal. If you finish middle school, and like a little segue, I'm 5'10", but I've also been this height essentially since I was 12 years old.
So, any guys over 6 feet?
Hit me up, yeah. Minimum.
Stay strong, short kings.
I've always said, like, I need to have the confidence of like a short king hitting on a tall woman because like really they don't give a shit. They're just like, I'm shooting my shot. Anyway, I digress. So I was like, I really want to do this. And she was like, fine. If you still want to do this and you've gotten all A's your 8th grade year, like I'll contact one of my agents. So I like busted my ass, and I also like I do have a learning disability. So it was kind of like that prize. Like
Which one?
So I have something called apraxia, which is a neurological and motor disorder. It is coupled with like learning disabilities and speech and motor. It's like a whole thing. So I worked really hard and I was like, I got all A's. I held up my end of the bargain. It's your turn. So I started doing some commercial work and it was super exciting. One of like the best jobs I've ever done was for the Miami Herald, and it was like a commercial. And I think it's really funny because when I shot that, I never would have assumed like I would go on to study journalism, and somehow I ended up in that world. So I don't know. I think I want to like repost it. Like, oh my God, how funny. But I now really focus primarily on runway work. So I've done Miami Swim Week. I've done Miami Fashion Week. And part of the reason I chose to go to school in Orlando is that I could work in Miami and Orlando still. And I am so grateful for my agents. I am so grateful for the people that I've met through the modeling world. I think that models kind of get a bad rap. Like they're all vapid, they're very self-absorbed. And I have met so many wonderful humans, men, women, who really just, they got me through college just because I didn't necessarily want to be at UCF, but it made sense. Mm-hmm. So I really am so grateful for the modeling world because it kept me going for 4.5 years.
Well, I'm glad you went to UCF, otherwise we wouldn't have never met.
I know. I think I'm very grateful too because obviously like I have you in my life, and I'm a very firm believer like things happen the way that they're supposed to happen. Whether it's like something silly like meeting my big, who is like someone who I can't live without, or that like Miami Herald commercial, or going to UCF to meet you, that I decided to study journalism. Just like so many little things. Like I couldn't see my life any other way right now. So I'm just like, if things are shit, I promise you just keep going through them because like things happen the way that they're supposed to happen. But also if things are really shit and you need to talk to someone, please talk to someone. I'm also a very big advocate on mental health and getting help when you're supposed to get help.
Actually, we've had a few guests on here talking about mental health as well, so it just goes to show you how prevalent of an issue it is in society.
Yeah, especially like in today's time, just like the pandemic, I think just took a huge toll on all of us. Like we bitched about 2020 being a really isolating year, but I think now we're actually seeing the effects of what 2020 did to all of us.
It's a whole butterfly effect.
One butterfly.
Knock one domino down, and the rest tumble after.
You said it. Yeah.
2 things, and you've already outpaced most of what I've done in my life, so we're gonna keep going.
Oh my gosh, no, Danny, you can't say that. Like, I mean, obviously, I don't really know if, like, the listeners care, but they're gonna hear an earful anyway. If I need to talk to someone, like, I'm like, I'm bored, who am I gonna call? It's going to be Danny K, because he always is just such a great person to have on the phone, which is why it's just, like, true kismet that you're doing this podcast. Do we have to explain what kismet is?
Actually, I don't even know what that is.
It's like a Yiddish term that it's like things are meant to be the way that they're meant to be.
Oh, well, I like that.
Yeah.
I've literally never heard that word. I mean, I've heard of schmutz. I've heard of, well, actually turns out bagel is a Yiddish word. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
It's very recently that I found that out.
You know, there was a quiz on Facebook. It was like, do you know you're Yiddish?
Actually, I tried that.
You did? How'd you do?
Not that great.
Okay. See, I got like 100%, but then again, like I'm a big nerd and I would have been a little pissed if I got anything less than 100%.
Okay, fair. Well, I don't know if this will intrigue the nerd in you, but the language learning app that I use, Duolingo, for Korean, they just added Yiddish, and I actually been taking a few of the lessons. To be honest, if you still remember how to read Hebrew, you'll be able to read it much better. But the thing is that some letters are like switched.
So I also know that Yiddish it's like it draws on Hebrew, German, and I think Russian.
Yes.
But I'm very bad at learning language. Like for my bat mitzvah, I learned it as a song. So my Robertson recorded it for me, and I just learned it like as I was singing because, I mean, you know, learning disability, it's like you learn tricks to kind of get you to where you need to be. So I just kind of like sang it all the way through. I'm so glad that I like had like a mini tiny ceremony. My parents were just like, we're not doing a party. We're all going to Mexico.
That doesn't sound like a bad deal at all.
Not at all. I am so grateful. Someone was actually messaging me about this earlier today. I'm so grateful that I had like the bat mitzvah that I did. It was so small. It was so intimate. It was my immediate family. And then when I turned 13, I took like my close friends to go see a Broadway show. I was like, that's, you know, that's my kind of thing.
Wow. What show?
Oh my God. My parents took maybe 20 of us, like when we were 13 years old, to go see Rock of Ages. And all we knew, oh my God, it was amazing. And it was also like a touring with the original Broadway cast.
No way.
It was extraordinary. But all my parents knew was that it was like a rock musical with music from the 80s. Since making it into a movie, obviously people know now, but it like takes place in a strip club. And my parents were like, oh my God, we just took 20-something 13-year-olds to go see a musical about sex and drugs and alcohol. Like, what were we thinking? But to this day, I love the music. I still think I have like the CD in my car.
If you think that's bad, there's a Broadway show called Avenue Q, and one of their songs is called The Internet is for Porn.
Yes, I know. And it's Avenue Q is
Isn't art amazing?
Art is amazing, and I think it's all done with like Muppets.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's a very strange musical.
Hey, but somebody thought of it and was like, you know what? We're going to produce it and make it. Sir, this sounds like a bad idea. Nope. Run it.
I mean, look at Spring Awakening. Oh my God. So it takes place in like a small German town. And it's all about like 13-year-olds discovering sex. And I can't remember like which war it's in.
If it's Germany, probably World War II.
I don't think it was World War II though. I think it was like World War I. So it's like this 13-year-old getting an abortion. And I think she dies from, it's like very, very dark shit.
I was about to say.
But it's also a rock musical. So you know what? I am such a fan, though, of musicals. Like, no matter how nerdy it is and how silly it is, I love a musical, and I will choose, like, to listen to a Broadway soundtrack over rap any day.
Okay, that's your thing. I mean, personally, I find musicals kind of cringy, but that's all right.
You know what? It's fun. Like, it takes all different kinds to make the world go round, right?
Correct, exactly. You know, if you had no comedians, maybe people wouldn't know to jab at each other and realize that it's okay. In fact, it's okay to even jab back.
Yeah, it is.
And then realize, you know what? We're still two good human beings. Want to go eat a drink? Sure. Actually, there is this one event in, I want to say, it's definitely Central America, but there's this one day out of the year. It's actually on Christmas, I think. It's called something else. It's like very Aztec derivative. And anyway, it's a one big fist fight. Everybody just beats each other up. And then at the end of the entire fight, they all go out drinking.
Okay. Wow. So much to unpack there. But there is an event in Spain, and it's called like La Tomatilla or something, and you literally just pelt people with tomatoes.
And just for the fun of it?
Yeah, it's like an event, a festival, something in the summer, it's really weird, but it's also super cool just to think about it. And then, like, you know, maybe bringing it back a little bit more national with the comedy roasts. Like, it's all done in good fun. So I think as long as there isn't malice behind it, that's the most important thing.
Correct.
Yeah. Did you see? I'm not a huge Jonas Brothers fan. Like,
Neither am I.
I don't, but I did watch the family roast that they did on Netflix. Oh my God. It was hysterical. I really do think Sophie Turner just, like, took home the gold. It was wonderful. Pete Davidson was in it, but he just, like, I'm not a fan of Pete. I don't know why. His comedy just isn't funny to me. But I will say Sophie Turner was really fucking funny. And they had some other people on. Oh my gosh. He's an English comic. He was also in Mother's Day. And he just did a Wired autocomplete interview. And he went to school. The facts that I can tell about this guy, but I don't know his name, is really depressing.
Rick Gervais?
No, it wasn't him. But he has a Netflix special. I think it's Jack Whitehall.
Okay.
I think that's what his name is. He was in it as well. It was just so funny. I love a good comedy roast.
I actually did watch a few clips of the one of Justin Bieber. And you know what? I forgot his name, but it's Jeff something. But he hosts all of, like, the major comedy roasts, like, of Justin Bieber and all that. And he is, like, the king roaster. And I kind of want to get to that level in life. Essentially, it's like being an insult comic.
Oh, my God. Yes. I think I know who you're talking about. And I know he was also in a movie. I think he was in an episode of Friends as well.
I never watched Friends.
Oh, goodness, Danny K. What are we going to do with you?
Hopefully not throw me out too quickly.
No, you've lasted this long. You're in for good. No. Sorry, you can't get rid of me.
So, I know that you've done a lot of work in terms of modeling in Miami, but where are some of the other cooler places you've done shows at?
Most of it has been pretty central to, like, Miami. I worked in Texas a little bit. I shot in the Bahamas for something.
That must have been pretty nice.
Oh my gosh, it was super fun, but I returned with, like, my legs covered in bug bites. So...
Were they tan, though?
They were tan, but I also went with a spray tan, so I don't really know how you can,
Okay.
But I love modeling. I think it's really great, but I've always wanted to be recognized more so for my brain, and I think that that's part of the reason I worked my ass off in school, just because I mean, looking back, it's like, would I have redone college a little bit differently? Absolutely, but, you know, as I said earlier, I think things happen the way that they're supposed to happen, and whatever way life unfolds. So would I have wanted to have a little bit more fun in college instead of making myself crazy to, like, get that 4.0? Yeah. But I think I kind of just, like, did my own thing, and I'm happy with where I am. So, you know, I modeled, I worked my ass off. You know, I have no idea where I'm going with this, Danny.
That's just something I always respected about you, is that I always wanted to do some things outside of school, but I was just so in it that I was just like, might as well just wait until it ends. But you did your own thing. You were just your own person, and I really respect that.
See, I thought you did so many things. Like, whether it was always related to UCF, I always saw you doing things. And I remember saying this, and I still believe it full-heartedly. Whenever you take photos, I feel as though your image captures, like, someone's soul. Because typically, and I know that this is really ironic because of what I, you know, did for a living, but I hate the way that I look in photos sometimes. And I just can't stand it. But whenever you took a photo, like, I felt like I was in my happiest space, but I think that that's what you bring out in anyone you photograph. Their inner soul, their happiness, like, where they are in that moment. And you've been recognized for it. Like, weren't you voted, like, one of Orlando's, like, top 9 best event photographers?
Number 5.
See? Like, people recognize that, Danny. So, like, I think everything is kind of like the eye of the beholder.
Fair enough.
So, while you saw something in me, I saw the same thing in you.
Well, that's great, because I thought I was just lazy in college.
No, you weren't. You were doing your things.
There we go. That's all that matters. And we were both in Greek life. That's actually how me and Charlotte met. And even though that, yes, the culture of American Greek life is toxic, if you use it for the correct purposes, it's good. For example, I'm on the autism spectrum, so social graces are not exactly natural to me. So by kind of kicking myself out to the wolves, it kind of forced me to climb up the tree and, you know, survive to see another day.
So I didn't even know that you were on the spectrum, I think, until, like, honestly, probably, like, your last year in college when you told me or something.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I just never knew. And I just probably, like, wasn't even, like, it didn't even cross my mind just because you were so social and so outgoing. And I always felt really uncomfortable at social events, but you always came up to me and you were like, "Hi, Charlotte." Like, that felt like a warm hug to me because just I don't do well with like a lot of people. I don't do well with like a lot of lights or alcohol. So while yeah, we can look at the toxic events of Greek life, I think if you use it for the right ways, it's great.
Greek life was a total animal.
Oh my gosh, like looking back at it now, I see how it was kind of cult-like, but when I went to UCF, I only knew one person. And it was, again, for what you said, it was like a great way to kind of throw yourself into the wolves. Like I knew I needed Greek life to make a really large school feel smaller, but I also loved the philanthropy element of it. So, you know, looking back, I'm very happy that like I did it. I think definitely because I graduated during the pandemic, you know, everyone who like kind of got screwed in that regard, but also like the planet got screwed. So what can you do?
If you couldn't graduate on time, nobody could.
No, I needed a little victory lap, but it's also because I put off a lot of like the necessary classes that I needed to take because I was working.
I mean, one hashtag that I do as a joke, but I feel like it's kind of the norm now is 5 is the new 4.
Oh my gosh. Well, I remember you telling me like, oh, I'm staying for a victory lap. That was the first time I had ever heard the reference. And since then I was like, you know, I just did like half a little lap.
Okay.
So
I like that. I'm spreading modern day colloquialisms to the masses.
Oh my gosh, you are like my gateway into like pop culture and what I need to know about life.
Well, I'd rather be a gateway to that than other stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Like a Star Gateway to another world.
You know what? Maybe the other world doesn't have a pandemic. Let's see what that's like.
But do they have makeup? No.
Oh, I could live without makeup. It would make my life easier.
Well, I already do it, so it works. Although this one time for high school, it was 80s day for like a spirit week, and I did put on some eyeliner because I went as a rocker.
Oh, that's perfect. I love a good like rock band, so you know, evident from the Rock of Ages, but
Of course, I mean, I think it was Boy George that started that whole androgynous look.
yes.
It was just the 80s, and growing up, for example, The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler, his buddy with the big hair, all the makeup and Don, and I remember my dad going, that's just what we did back in the 80s.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And also like look at people like David Bowie, George Michael, all of those people. Prince was another really big one, even though he was more, was he 90s? I think he was like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a different time. But now like you have people, goodness gracious.
Every TikToker,
but like Sam Smith is someone, even though Sam is non-binary. Oh my gosh. Just did The Masked Singer and he came in second place. Oh my gosh, he was in a Broadway show. He was on RuPaul's Drag Race as a guest judge. Who was he? What's his name?
I don't know, horrible. But when I first heard RuPaul's Drag Race, I thought 2 guys dressed in drag and then went in Formula 1 cars and raced each other.
Oh my gosh, that would probably be easier.
Right?
Right? I'm a big fan of
RuPaul,
that.
take notes.
Honestly, I think RuPaul is such a wonderful businessman and how he's been able to like adapt his business model through the show with, I mean, everything that they have done, like all of the queens. Oh, some of the podcasts that they do are fabulous.
As fabulous as they are.
Oh, I know, right? Honestly, I wish I could dance the way that they do. I can't do the splits. I mean, I can put my legs behind my head, but I can't do the splits.
Well, that's still pretty impressive.
Right?
I was almost able to do a split at one point when I played hockey.
Oh,
but that's because I was a goalie, and so we kind of had to do that. If anybody else took splits on the ice, that's a bad thing. That's when you got to call a medic or something.
Oof. You know, do you still like skate or like do you play just like in a league?
I did play in a league, but that was a long time ago.
I don't know. I want to go to an ice rink. Like, I was never a really good skater, but I, like, could do it. I want to go to an ice rink. You and I should find one.
Oh, there's Incredible Ice where the Panthers play.
Okay, is that here?
No, that's in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. Much closer to where you are.
Okay, I want to see you skate, because obviously you're very good.
It's been, 5+ years.
It's still so much better. It's like riding a bike, even though I haven't ridden a bike in years and I'm afraid to get back on one.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you can still do it.
Probably. I don't know. I'll have to see if I still got the chops.
I believe in you, Danny K.
Well, I appreciate it. And I believe in you to not fall at least the first few times.
Yes.
Although you probably will, at being 5'10" and uncoordinated.
I know. I missed the athletic gene. It just went...
Just wondering, being 5'10" really helps you in the modeling world though, right? I would assume?
Yeah, it helps. Now it's just such a different ball game. I think while it's wonderful that we are promoting body inclusivity, that's something new. And it wasn't that way even 5 years ago. Now, I have a really good friend who I saw when I was in New York, and she's with an agent there. She was like, if you are a size 0, you're not working. You need to be at least a size 2. And part of me was like, you know what? That's really great because,
For real.
yeah, I mean, even though it's like, I understand that I'm coming at this from a very different perspective, but size 2 and size 4, that's amazing because I think it does give people more incentive to like eat and to take care of yourself in a different way. Just we've seen so many changes with the modeling world in general, but now you don't necessarily have to be 5'10". You don't have to be like some glamazon. You can be 5'8",
Glamazon.
right? You can be 5'8" and have like this amazing face. I wish I had
like me.
Yeah, duh. I wish I had like a round face like you do. I have just like this long, weird oval face. Like I want cheekbones that can cut glass.
I mean, that's just from the Korean genes, but you have a very pretty face.
No, I'll take it. But I mean, I think like no matter what, you are your harshest critic. So I'm coming from that perspective.
Correct. And your work has spoken for itself. So sometimes we do get in our own heads. But one thing that I've been told recently as a good piece of advice is don't get into your head too much because then you're just going to bring yourself down. Honestly,
I need to live by that more. So whoever gave that piece of advice to you, honestly, rock solid. Thank you for spreading it back to me.
Of course. And, whatever helps. We're all 20 and trying.
Right? We are. We're 20 and trying.
Even though I'm 27, I'm going to need 30 and trying soon.
It's 30 and thriving.
30 and thriving. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or maybe 30 and not so thriving.
There we go.
If we're keeping like the same messaging.
Or how about 30 and thrifty?
I like that. I won't get copyrighted by 13 going on 30.
We won't go into that. Oh, by the way, did you know that Jennifer Garner's actually a sorority sister of yours?
I do know, and she's a Pi Phi. I love Jennifer Garner. She's amazing. Her cooking shows that she goes... Yes.
Cooking shows?
So she will have her assistant... It's called like the pretend cooking show. So she'll make recipes on Instagram and it's just wonderful and good for the soul and sweet. And then there was also a video of, oh my goodness, Julie Andrews calling her and she just like flips her shit. She's crying and I'm just like, I need more goodness like this in the world.
Question, Julie Andrews was the one who played the mother in The Princess Diaries, right?
The grandmother, yeah.
Yes,
she was also in The Sound of Music and Mary Poppins.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection. Oh, wow.
I know. Just wonder, what a wonderful woman. Oh.
Oh, yeah. So Jennifer Garner. It's funny you bring that up because I always thought that Jennifer Garner was hot, but my stepmom always like, yeah, she looks too field hockey for me.
That's like her career has taken such a weird shift lately because she was in Alias and another movie. I think it was called like Elektra or something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she did a lot of action roles. And then she kind of did 13 going on 30 and Ghost of a Girlfriend's Past. And now she's like playing like those mother roles, but she just did Peppermint, which was, I think, another action movie. But, oh, and Reese Witherspoon is adapting The Last Thing He Told Me into a TV series, I think for Apple TV. And it was supposed to be Julia Roberts, but Julia Roberts backed out and now it's Jennifer Garner.
Of course.
So you gotta love the Jays. I think it's awesome to see a woman who, because obviously... I just think there's such a double standard between men and women in the entertainment industry. Like when you get past 40, you're like, you're the mom. You're not hot anymore. But I think it's awesome to see like how Jennifer Garner has really expanded her career with like Yes Day. And she leans into the mom role, like Love, Simon. And you go see these movies because of Jennifer Garner. You're like, I want, like, at least me, like, she's one of my favorite actresses of all time, her and Reese Witherspoon. So, and Sandra Bullock. So,
I was about to say, Sandra Bullock sounds like right in that ballpark.
Yes, exactly. Like, all of those movies I love. So, I don't know. I think it's fascinating to see. And all of them have really taken, like, their career, like, their starting points and completely changed it. Like, Reese is revolutionizing the film and media industry for women.
How so?
With her, program Hello Sunshine. So I think it started as a book club, to be completely honest. So obviously, like, I'm an avid reader. I love it. And I would read all of the books that she would promote. Or like I'm working my way through all of them because I started relatively late. But now she's like adapting films and she's producing. And it started because she was getting sent scripts and she's like, I don't want to act and be this like vapid bimbo. And I think the first movie she produced was Wild. And because Wild was one of her picks. And she was like, this needs to be a film. So she produced it. She starred in it. And she did Big Little Lies, Little Fires Everywhere, The Morning Show. She's doing another movie, actually. I think, is it? No, she's in the movie. I mean, you know what? Like, hey, at least she's picking projects that she wants to do. And I think that that's really powerful.
She's staying busy too.
Right? And she, I think, is one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood right now.
Good for her.
And I know another company like Blackstone, I think is what it's called. bought Hello Sunshine, so now she is a millionaire. So,
Yeah.
like, go Reese, like a little woman from Tennessee.
Oh, seriously. Do you know who else is from Tennessee that made it big? Justin Timberlake.
I did not know he was from Tennessee.
Yep.
But he was like a child star. Well, so was Reese Witherspoon, if we're like really being nitpicky.
Britney Spears too. They were on that Mickey Mouse Club, I think is what it's called.
I didn't know she was. I knew Britney and Justin were in the Mickey Mouse. I'm like saying like I know them personally, right?
Yeah.
But I just knew that Reese did the Man on the Moon.
Okay, yeah. I don't think Reese was a part of that, but I know Britney was a part of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, whatever it's called.
Honestly, I'm so glad that she's freed. And I saw a meme. It was like, what are you going to do when you're free? And I think she had like, someone took like a photo of her shopping at Target. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like the small freedoms that we take for granted, that meant a big deal. So, free Britney, yay.
I mean, I'm about to put this into a way darker tone, but that is true about how we don't take things for granted, because sometimes when I go do a walk for an hour around downtown Orlando, I realize that I have the ability to do this, whereas some people, the moment they step out of the house, they could potentially get shot.
I know. I saw a musical when I was in New York, and it kind of just put a lot of things into like a cultural perspective. And I am so fortunate that like I have the freedom to not even have to like, I mean, do I have to still be careful? Yeah, well, yeah, obviously that's just like being aware of your surroundings, but we have the freedom to be able to go places, and I don't have to be chaperoned by a man, where in some countries like I wouldn't have that right. And I think that that's really powerful.
You wouldn't even be able to show your face.
I know. I think we can bitch and we can complain, but in general, like, we are very fortunate to like be living in the time where we do. Do I think that some things that are going on in the country, should they be fixed? Yeah, absolutely. But that's like a whole other discussion for a whole other day.
Exactly. But you're 100% right. Just like when people are like, oh my God, I wish I lived in Victoria, England. I go, you would want to take a dump in a pot and then put it under your bed and then throw it out the window the next morning? Yeah, be my guest. I like it here.
Yeah. I saw something on, Facebook, of all places, but it was, oh my God, no one's had to live like this. It's like, if you just consider things, like if you look at the early 1900s, there was World War I, then the Depression, and then World War II, and then like war after war after war. So if you think about it, does the pandemic absolutely suck? Yeah. Did we all go through shit? Yeah, but let's also consider the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, let's just hope that we don't have to go into a war.
Oh my God, like knock on wood.
I mean, that's fake wood, but
you know
hopefully
what?
it works.
It'll also... Never mind, I won't say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're a big history buff, aren't you?
Yeah, I was a history minor in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that part. Mm-hmm. I knew that you liked history, but I didn't know you liked it that much. But...
Oh, I loved it.
So, what is your favorite era to study?
I am obsessed with the Industrial Revolution. Like, I love it. I know that Teddy Roosevelt has gotten, like, a bad rap lately. You and I have talked about this.
He's one of my favorite presidents.
He's my favorite president, too. I just think he was such a weird guy, and he, like, didn't give a shit about the status quo. He broke up the trust. He was a cowboy. He was
a war hero.
He was a war hero. He established the Parks and Recreation system. Granted, obviously, like, I think we all could have done a little bit better job of, like, respecting where this land came from. Again, another story for another day. Like, he dug he didn't dig the Panama Canal, but he played a role in the Panama Canal. I just think he was, like, a fascinating guy.
I mean, he even got shot during a speech and finished the speech before he went to the hospital.
Did you know also that he was blind in one eye because he was wrestling in the White House and he got punched in the face?
Not surprised.
I know, right?
When he died, his attendant said, of course, death had to take Teddy while he was sleeping, because if he were awake, there would have been a fight.
Well, so, okay, here's what I think is just so fascinating. First of all, I love that that's what the doctor said. Second of all, I just think it's so funny because this was also at a time when, like, trust controlled the government. So he was vice president because essentially the vice president has no power. And then McKinley got shot, and then he became president, and it was like, oh, fuck, we're screwed. So I just think it's like, again, going back to what I said earlier, like, things happen the way that they're supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. I just think that it's hysterical. But yeah, I love the Industrial Revolution. But I studied a lot of, like, early colonialism because I specifically got a history minor because I took her intro level history class and I loved it so much. And I was like, I want to take every class this woman is teaching. And by the time I was done, I had a history minor.
Look at that. Back to Kishma, is that what it's called? The Yiddish word for...
Kismet.
Kismet.
Yeah. So she taught a lot of classes like early colonialism, trading, things like that. So...
Both the good and the really bad.
Yeah. And it was just so fascinating. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should go back and get a master's in history, but what am I going to do with that?
Right. My parents and even my family, they're like, Danny, you'd be a fantastic history teacher. I'm like, okay. And would I live out of a cardboard box?
I know. Isn't it so sad that like so many of our decisions that we make are driven by financial gain?
Yeah.
I know. What I could say about that. As like a journalist,
Well,
making pennies.
Greed is one of the major sins for a reason.
Oh my gosh, I know. Funny story for like
Ironically,
Halloween.
we're Jews, though.
I know, right? What's it called? For Halloween, I like once did the 7 deadly sins. I think I was gluttony, though.
So did you buy a fat suit?
No, I like hot glued a bunch of candy.
Oh.
And no one really got it. But like when there were 7 of us, they were like, oh, I get it.
If you like wore something that made you look bigger, that made more sense.
Maybe, yeah. Well, that and like sloth as well.
Well, you could just dress up as a sloth.
I know. This was at a time, I mean, it's still my favorite show, but Charmed. And I was watching it for maybe like the 5th time at that moment. I've now rewatched it like 8-9 times. It's a problem, and there's 8 seasons.
Oh, plenty of bingeability.
Oh my god, I binged it so many times. But again, I love like those weird Wiccan kind of things. But
I think they're pretty cool.
I was just in Salem as well, so like, of course. But it was an episode about like the 7 sins were released into the world. Mm-hmm. So I was like, let's do this. And God knows how I was able to convince 6 other people.
Really, God knows. Because
Right.
sins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clever.
Coming up with Christian jokes as a member of the tribe.
But right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
We
just
need
fun.
like a soundtrack.
I mean, if I could just get the sound pad to work, I would add, like, I don't know, some stupid sound effects. Like, I never watched the movie 16 Candles, but
Okay.
I do know this one scene of the Asian guy, and I think his name is Dong, and he jumps out of the tree and he goes, "Oh, sexy girlfriend, bonsai!" And then just jumps out.
So that was like my theme for my 16th birthday.
Pretty in Pink?
Yeah, well, not Pretty in Pink, but
Oh, yeah.
16 Candles.
Exactly.
Different Molly Ringwald, different John Hughes movies. My parents borrowed a projector and we like played it against the wall. So it was like the 16 Candles, and like, of course, everyone dressed up like from an 80s movie as well. If we're noticing a trend.
Probably a lot of shoulder pads.
I wore like this like bustier from that my mom had saved because she modeled, and like a lot of times they would like give her clothes and she would save them. I wore that, like crimped my hair, like massive black eyeliner, red lips. It was super fun. And everyone like would come dressed as like Madonna. Or it was just such a fun time. But like, yeah, I love 80s movies. Like Weird Science, another great one.
I'm trying to think of some of the 80s movies that I like. Dang, it's going to take me a while, so I'm not going to think about it right now. It'll probably come later to you, or me.
Yeah, later tonight.
Yeah.
You let me know when it does.
I got it. So do you listen to a lot of 80s music?
I do, yeah. It was like, so because we're recording this at the end of the year, like my Spotify Wrap just happened. Number 1 was Taylor Swift. Like, okay, fine, I'll be a basic bitch for that. But it was like Supertramp,
Nice.
Duran Duran, Fleetwood Mac, and then another one, and I can't remember it. So it was a nice little eclectic collection.
I bet. Actually, unfortunately, I don't have any classic rock artist on my top 5 anymore because I've just been listening to a lot more hip hop. But classic rock does show up as either the second or third most listened to genre because I grew up as a rock kid.
Yeah. So like, what is like your favorite band from that genre?
Well, if we're talking 80s, that's a little difficult because my favorite band of all time is the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but they're from the 90s. But technically late 80s, early 90s. But I will say for 80s, I would say it's either between Van Halen or Rush.
Okay.
I like those bands at least.
So, I mean, I guess it's kind of like more 70s, but like I do love Fleetwood Mac. The Eagles are phenomenal. There was like, even though they didn't make like the Spotify Wrap, but that's fine.
Also, one of them just died recently.
I know.
John Fry? Glenn?
Glenn Fry. He died a while ago, and then I think when they were touring, his son was touring with them. But there was a wonderful documentary that was on Netflix a while ago about the Eagles. But like, the problem with me is I'm not versed enough in music to love a band.
Okay.
Like, I love songs. So it's a song that sticks out, which I think is maybe why like I like Taylor Swift the most, or at least she comes up because I like so many of her songs, but also she has like such a huge discography. So, and now even more so. I don't know. I feel like she just has to slip in there.
Even though I was never the biggest, is it called a Swiftie?
I'm not a Swiftie either, though. I just like her music.
Okay, so I'm not a Swiftie, but I can at least acknowledge the fact that she and many others have had a huge role in like how society has been shaped in Smith into what it is.
I also will say like Miranda Lambert's up there as well, like as one of like my favorite artists. strangely enough.
It's like I know who she is, but I don't think I've ever listened to any of her music.
She's a country singer.
That's why.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why country gets such a bad rap, but whatever.
It sounds like a really weird statement, but whenever I listen to country, I feel more American.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. I get it, because so many songs are about, like, kicking back, drinking beer. Have you watched The Ranch on Netflix?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Actually, I watched the first few seconds, and then Taylor Lautner popped up, and I was like, this is too dumb, and I
Taylor
stopped
Lautner's
watching.
not on The Ranch.
What? Oh, wait, never mind. It's a different kind of cowboy movie that he was in. Never mind.
I do know which one. I think it's, like, Cuckoo, but it's, like, that's what he was in, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, The Ranch with Ashton Kutcher. Never mind.
So, it's very, like, middle America, country living, and I don't know. I understand, like, what you're saying, but for me, it's just, like, if I need to turn my brain off, I go to The Ranch.
Okay, fair. We all have that. I don't know what I do. I think I just put on a lo-fi, like, live stream and just kind of just vegetate.
We all need our methods of decompression. Decompression?
Yeah, you
Yeah? Great. Took a minute.
Just decompress.
Yes.
Woosah.
Oh my gosh. I know. I, like, also do love ASMR.
I think you'd be a good ASMR artist.
Well, thank you. I sometimes listen to ASMR to fall asleep.
Oh my god, me too.
It's just so therapeutic. Well,
Free sheep jumping over the fence.
So, you know, back to, like, what I actually sound like. It was something I learned while working with Hannah.
Oh, no way.
Because...
Oh, fun fact. Actually, Charlotte and my sister have actually had an internship together, so they knew each other even from completely weird sources.
Again, like, going back, like, things happen the way that they're supposed to happen, because this was an internship we both got just because of, like, mutual connections. And the woman who owned the company was like, oh, someone else is doing an internship. Her name's Hannah Corrinter. And I was like, wait a second, hold on. The minute she said that, I was like, Danny, is your sister's name Hannah? And is she doing an internship in New York City this summer? So, you know, lo and behold, but your sister loves skincare. Yes. So she would play...
it's part of our culture as Koreans.
Very true. And, like, I also know that she's in the science world of it. Mm-hmm. So she would show, like, these videos, and I was like, oh my god, why do I find this so relaxing? And it was, like, the weird ASMR, like, meditating, like, videos of... Anyway, that's, like, a weird, I don't know, quirk.
No, I love it. I listen to that stuff to help me fall asleep, too, because I'm an insomniac. So I guess whatever helps, because, well, ketamine isn't going to do it.
See, I use melatonin, I drink chamomile, I have some CBD.
So no ketamine, right?
No.
Okay, good.
That's where I draw the line.
I like that line. That's a very fine line that we can end on.
Exactly.
Awesome. This is all great stuff. I love having you as a guest, Charlotte.
Honestly, I mean, I love being a guest, but also more importantly, like, I love actually being able to see you and spend time with you, because I think this is the first time we've been able to, like, be in each other's presence for 2 years.
Yeah, we've been FaceTiming a lot.
I know, but it's different. It's like, it's a different kind of energy.
It is. Big DK energy.
It's big DK energy, exactly. Pun intended.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of big DK energy, we're now at my favorite part of any big DK energy episode, which is the bonus question round. 10 questions that you do not know about but are appropriate, and you will still be hireable after.
Okay.
That being said, Miss Trattner, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. Number 1, if you could model for any brand, who would it be and where's the show?
Oh my god. Okay, so if I, like, want to give a really positive answer, I would probably say Aerie, just because they do a lot of wonderful things for, like, body inclusivity and, like, body positivity, so I really respect that. But I am just obsessed with Balenciaga. Like, I love...
Wait, for real?
I love their bags. I love the Balenciaga purse. I got a secondhand Balenciaga bucket bag for my 18th birthday. And it was amazing.
So you got a second purse so you can carry it in both hands?
No, it was, so, like, consignment. So, like, a previously owned.
Oh, secondhand. Okay,
yeah.
Got it. Not two hands.
And, yeah,
okay.
right? I just love their brands. I don't really, I saw a recent campaign they did, and I was like, I am not vibing with this, but it's like, it's Balenciaga. They get away with it.
Fair. So I'm guessing that's who you would model for?
Yeah.
And where's the show?
Oh, goodness. I mean, maybe New York. Like, we'll just say New York, yeah.
Anywhere specific in New York? MoMA?
No, it would be amazing to do a high designer during New York Fashion Week, but New York Fashion Week is just, like, a beast in and of itself, and I don't know if I want to deal with that kind of beast.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Sounds like a headache anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, since you are an avid reader, if there is one book universe that you could live in, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Okay, like I really have to think about this. I will probably just say, oh goodness, can I say like a tie?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Growing up, my favorite book was Sisters Grimm. And it is essentially what it sounds like. It's two sisters that were the descendants of the Brothers Grimm. But all of the fairy tales are real. And the Grimms are not well liked by fairy tale creatures because they were kind of like exploited by the Brothers Grimm. But I love that like weird world of fairy tales. And then on another level, I just read Daisy Jones and the Six. And it was awesome. It's like old rock Hollywood. Like the author, she's written I think 3 books and they all have like, they're all in the same time period. And some of the characters overlap. I would love to like be a groupie of the Six.
I like it.
Yeah.
There's actually a show on Amazon that you would love. It's called Grimm.
Okay.
And it's essentially the book Sisters Grimm, but in a TV adaptation, sort of.
I'm watching it done.
Okay.
I can do that.
I'll send you a link. Okay, yeah, number 3. You're having dinner with 3 to 4 of the most influential people in your life that are not friends or family. Who are they? And what are y'all getting to eat?
Are they strangers?
Yes.
Okay. Reese Witherspoon. Duh. In case you didn't make it obvious, I think she's amazing.
Who?
Reese Witherspoon.
No. Who's the second person you said?
Oh, I only said one so far.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, let me think about this.
I thought you said Casey Anthony for a second. I'm going to go, her?
Nah, Casey Anthony. I did like, though, another thing. Like, she did a project with Reese Witherspoon, and that was really fun to watch. But again.
Casey Anthony, I thought, was the girl.
No, not Casey Anthony. Oh, my God. I meant Casey Musgraves. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's like getting John Wayne and John Wayne Gacy mixed up.
Wow. Oh, my God. That is...
Which, don't ever do that, by the way. John Wayne and John Wayne Gacy, do not mix those two up.
I will never again.
If you need an explanation, I'll explain why.
Thank you. I know that one of them's a serial killer. I think the other is a hockey player, right?
John Wayne is one of the most famous American actors of all time.
Oh, oops. Oh, yes, that's why. Because they mention him on the ranch a lot.
Are you kidding me? He's like the epitome of cowboys.
Yeah. That's why I thought the name was familiar. Don't ask me why I thought it was a hawk. I was thinking Wayne Gretzky.
That's right.
Okay.
Fair.
Yeah. I told you I have like no athletic ability, so I still have to answer this question, don't I?
Yeah, so you said Reese Witherspoon.
Goodness, who else? I have to think about this. This is tough. It's been a minute since like I did pageantry, so I don't have these answers like ready.
Preloaded.
I know, I don't have them. I have to think. You know what? I would want to, I don't have the name, but I would also want to have dinner with the team from the Boston Globe that who Spotlight is based off of. I would really like to do that. That's one of my favorite movies. And I think, oh, this is so hard and I can't be related to them. Why is my brain so fried right now? The creator of Well and Good, which is my favorite media company.
I do not know who that is, but it sounds like great people.
I'm going to mispronounce her last name, so I won't say it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
And what are y'all getting to eat?
Can we get sushi? I have so much food allergies. Sushi just plays it safe.
Okay.
Okay.
You're getting sushi with your favorite people.
I am.
Excellent. Number 4, dream vacation and itinerary.
I want to go to Iceland and see the Northern Lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid answer.
I would freeze my ass off, but I want to see the Northern Lights.
It's worth it. From what I've seen.
Oh, I was going to say, wait, have you gone?
Nah.
Oh,
I'm not that cool yet.
So this, because it's like, you can only see them during September and October because of the atmospheric conditions. This September, October, I'm planning a trip to Spirit of Halloween, which is like the Halloween Town Festival. But, you know, maybe we're shooting for 2023. I'll be in Iceland then.
5, you're setting up a concert for children with learning disabilities. Who are your 5 band/artists as part of the lineup?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so obviously Taylor Swift. I just mentioned Casey Musgraves, and I think she's pretty cool, so let's throw her in there as well. You know what? I like the Killers. Let's do them. Panic at the Disco. That's another one. And this is a weird one. Maybe we can get Fleetwood Mac back together.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Okay.
I'd definitely go see that. Number 6, what does an ideal day look like for you?
So my days look a little bit different, and they're going to look different in like the next calendar year because I got a new job. But
Mazel tov, by the way.
Thank you very much. I have been working for my mom, managing her medical practice for the past year. So I will wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's so much fun. And then I work with her until 2. It's great because her patients are all wonderful. Like, I was listening to a past episode and I think Erin had said something like, what is something that you do that like makes the world a better place or like leaves a mark. And it's like I get to help these patients like through my mom, which makes me happy. And then I've had 4 part-time jobs as well throughout the year, so in total 4. So I have like 3 other things. So like I will do some work for like my fellowship because I was working for UCF for a while, then get some things done for 20 and Trying, and then work on like the freelance writing that I've picked up because I've been freelancing a lot. And then I try to work out every day, or at least like do some yoga, chill with my dogs, and then like read a book to decompress at the end of the day.
Sounds like a very productive day.
That is what I've been trying to do. But then again, there are also days where I'm like, I can't today, and like I will just watch Netflix, and give yourself the grace to do that.
Number 7. You're making a rom-com movie, and you're the main character. Describe your movie and list the guy playing your opposite lead.
So that audio that's on Instagram and TikTok, it's like, is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe
No,
I am.
You're just the main character.
Okay, but like that is, I think, how I would describe my current dating life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is a whole other story. So it would probably be me facing my commitment issues, which I know that I have and I have accepted them. And then it depends if like we want like, oh, how sweet, like, like a traditional rom-com, it would be like the guy who hits everything on like the list and like finally realize, oh my God, this is the perfect person. But if it's not, and if it's like really like it rings true, it would be like being in love with someone who also has a commitment issue, having to deal with that, and then accepting that like people need therapy.
You know what? I like that. It's more realistic of an outcome.
Yeah, but I would want, this wasn't in the question, but I love Zachary Levi, but he would be too old if I was starring in the movie. Nicholas Braun, he's in Succession. I think that's his name. Oh my God, he was also in Sky High. The really tall one.
Oh, I'll have to go back to that movie. Sky High was
it was a minute ago.
That's a throwback.
And I'm just like, give me a guy who's 6 foot something, and that's my weakness.
All right. Okay. I'm 5'8", so, we just live that short king life.
I know. You gotta love a short king.
That's all right. I'm still a king.
You are.
Number 8. You've been transported to a different time in history. Which era are you in? What country? And what is your role?
Jeez Louise. You know what? Okay, have you ever watched Outlander?
I've heard of it, yes.
Oh, let me be clear.
My stepmother loves that show.
Oh my God, I love that show. So, I don't know. I know it has like a weird cult following. But essentially, it's this woman from the 1940s who's a nurse after World War II. And she gets transported to like, I want to say like early 1700s Scotland during like Battle of Culloden, and when Scotland was fighting against the British. So awesome, amazing, and like obviously she falls in love with like this beautiful Klansman, and like Scottish Klansman.
Yeah, not KKK Klansman.
I think we need to make that clear. And I can't pronounce his last name, but Sam something. He was also in The Spy That Dumped Me. God, he's so beautiful. So yeah, just let me be clear. I'll be like a nurse or something.
Okay. Nice, helping out the war effort. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe hopefully having him as one of your patients.
Oh my God, just like watch the show. It's great.
Okay, I'll give it a shot if I have nothing bingeable left. Mm-hmm. And so we're almost at the end. Number 9. What's one of your best, most recent accomplishments?
I've started making videos about apraxia on Instagram and TikTok.
I've been watching them.
And it's still very rare, and there's not a lot of research on it. It also often goes like misdiagnosed. So, or like people just constantly add diagnoses to it because they don't understand it. So to be able to answer the messages from parents like, hi, my kid has apraxia and they're not speaking, so listening to you like gives me hope, or knowing that they're still able to like achieve something makes me feel better. So I just think like being able to instill the hope in parents that like just because your child has this disability doesn't mean it's like the end of the world.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And actually, well, we're having such a fun time that we're actually at the last question already.
Wow.
And it's actually one that you're familiar with. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who is 20 and trying?
Oh my goodness, I love this question. Okay. Start posting some of your struggles on social media. And do it in a way that isn't just like misery loves company, but do it in a way that will also help and show your friends like that struggles are okay. Like, highlight the fact that life isn't all sunshines, rainbows, and unicorns. That you're allowed to have, like, that dark day. But I also think, like, recognizing it makes those, like, happy sunshine moments even better.
Wow. You actually gave an actual answer instead of, like, work hard. So thank you for that, first of all. And second of all, it's funny because you're kind of telling people to do something the opposite of what they've been told, but I honestly love that answer because you're right about what you said about social media, how it's only a highlight reel. And what I've actually learned about, just from life in general is that you're not going to win all the time, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. Like, you and I have had so many conversations about this, Danny, and I'm so happy that, like, we can have another conversation like this specifically for your podcast. And I'm not just saying, like, post life sucks because, obviously I think that's kind of counterintuitive. But it's like, I applied to over 150 jobs this past year. I graduated with a 3.99. I had more than 5 internships. I did practicum. I have God knows how much published clips. And it took me an entire year to find a job in my field. And did it suck? Yeah. But you only hear about those stories when someone gets the job. Like, I applied to 150 jobs, but I got my dream job. It's like, post about it when you're in the thick of it. Like, I am feeling X because of this. And I just think, like, knowing that you're not alone is going to make things a little bit better. So just know, like, it is okay to struggle. It is okay to, like, figure out who you are because your 20s are for that. And you know what? Even your 30s, like, you're not going to turn 30 and suddenly be like, what the fuck have I been doing? The path is, like, right in front of me. So I just think it's important to recognize that it's okay to kind of wander through life figuring things out as you go.
I love that. And we all need that reminder and kick in the butt sometimes. It's always refreshing to hear from somebody else as well, because at least you know that, of course, you're not truly alone. I mean, there's 7 billion people on this planet. So I guess, we're not alone, but sometimes we can just feel alone just because it's not just so much in a cultural way, but it's just in our own mental and just self.
Exactly. And I think what you're doing with this podcast is great because it also, like, provides a little bit of levity for people when they need it. And we need more of that right now.
Of course. And I love this episode. It was a fantastic episode, but unfortunately we are at the end. And Charlotte, I just want to say, even after 4 times, I'm so appreciative that I know you have such a busy schedule, but thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding, Danny? Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for making the time and the space for this to happen. Like, you are one of my favorite people.
Of course, as you are one of mine. So Charlotte, besides being a big name because of modeling and then being an absolute boss bitch because of your degree and what you're trying to pursue, you're just such an overall genuine person, and you've battled through a lot of crap, and yet you're another one of those stories of where you just come up on top. And it's with your overall person of who you are and your struggles that I think you, Charlotte Trattner, have big DK energy.
I love you, Danny K. Thank you so much for having me on.
So with that all being said and done, we're going to put all of her social media links in the description below. And is there anything else you want to say or promote before we head off?
If you do want to check out 20 and Trying, you can find us at, like, 20 trying. Oop, there's the apraxia right there. I know it really sucks, like, not being able to say ours, and it's, like, in your podcast and it's in your name, but that's another story. So yeah, you can check out 20 and Trying on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you can also follow us on Instagram at 20 and trying.podcast.
Excellent. So like me, you should definitely have that as one of your top shows by the end of next year. And with all that being said and done, I'm Danny K of Big DK Energy, and we're signing off.